I wanted to move on, if I may, and ask you about Wirecard. And specifically, if you had a message to people that had invested in Wirecard and lost a lot of money, if they'd been reassured by seeing that your name, EY's name, was on the accounts of the company, and if you had a message to those investors.
Well, Wilfred, I put out a client letter yesterday that was publicized in some of the newspapers around the world, and we're obviously talking to all our clients, and some have invested in and had invested in Wirecard. It's obviously a very unfortunate situation. It's a massive collusive fraud that we did bring up. We did disclose it in our in our fiscal or calendar year 19 audit of Wirecard. I wish we had disclosed it earlier. I wish we had found it earlier. But we went through great lengths, including in the audit of 19, we actually asked the company to move cash around, which was the only way we could really ensure that it was there. We were given falsified documents the years before, falsified bank statements. It was a very well orchestrated fraud. And like I said in my letter to our clients, I regret we didn't find it earlier. But we did find it, and we did raise it to the board and to the regulators once we did.
Well, it might well have been well orchestrated, and you might well have located it eventually, which was something I picked up on in your letter yesterday, picking up on right now. Maybe I'm getting this wrong, Carmine, correct me if I am, but it feels like, in a sense, you're seeking some credit for having located the fraud eventually, which is ultimately the job of an auditor. I mean, would you have found it without the amazing work of various journalists, particularly the FT here deserves a shout out, amongst many others? And is it right to sort of be seeking credit for finding something so late when it's your job to be tracking those things?
Yeah, Wilfred, let me just make sure one thing is clear. We're not taking credit for anything. I'm just explaining some of the facts. We feel just as bad as anyone that this wasn't found earlier. And as I said in my letter, we are going to improve some of our processes around fraud. You have to understand there's a big difference between a financial audit and a forensic audit. We don't really do forensic audits as part of our financial audit. It's not part of our standards. If it was, audits would be a lot more expensive and would take a lot more time. But with all that being said, it is something that we all have to improve on and that we have to improve on. We also have to improve on who we're dealing with. And this is some of the processes we say it's client acceptance and client continuance in terms of where we're looking at the individuals in management, and should we continue or should we accept the client? These are processes that we will improve. You know, there are techniques today that should give us a lot more information on individuals, and we need to be utilizing those. I mean, the COO is still missing. I think he's in Russia somewhere. No one's found him yet. So when you're dealing with bad people, it's very difficult.
As we sit here today, can investors be confident that all of the other companies you audit have no fraud within them?
Well, of course, the answer to that is yes, but there will always be companies out there that are problematic. But we have a robust 99% of all our audits are absolutely fine. But we're always going to have issues in terms of when we're dealing with bad people, frankly. Now, our processes should improve, and this is really an overall industry matter in terms of making sure that we are improving processes around fraud. The other big four have been saying the same thing, but for that to happen, we also have to have some different standards.